the Middle East?
Yeah, but four or 5,000. Yes.
Well, what are they going to do? They're not going to engage in a ground war, are they?
Not a damn thing. No, 5,000 Marines is insufficient forces to do anything of significance on the ground, other than NEO operation, which is a rescue operation. If you have to pull Americans out of Israel or out of Lebanon, out of harm's way, the Marines, have contingencies where they can go in, they can secure a zone, usually in a permissive environment, but in some cases a non-permissive environment, and get American citizens out of that and then withdraw them out of the area. But in terms of a sustained presence on the ground, a meaningful presence, 5,000 Marines simply isn't enough.
Here's Prime Minister Netanyahu, in my view, at his worst when he was speaking before Congress, even attacking, if you will, the First Amendment. I'd like you to watch this and listen to it. Maybe you've seen it before. And then I'm going to ask you, he's a maniac. What is his real goal in all of this? But first, the clip.
For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building. Not that many, but they're there, and throughout the city. Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
Three of those demonstrators are regular contributors to this show: Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, and Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. I asked them, were you guys funded by Iran? There were 50 to 100,000 of you. Was there the slightest whiff of Iranian money funding you to go there? No, no, and no.
Yeah, no. Look, you don't have to agree. I happen to agree with, I'm good friends with Max and Aaron, and I know Colonel Wilkerson, and I agree with what they're demonstrating in support of. But you don't have to agree with them. If you're a representative of the United States of America, as all those people who are in the Congress applauding Benjamin Netanyahu, a foreigner, by the way, who was attacking Americans for carrying out their First Amendment rights of freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. If you're a member of Congress, your duty is to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I would say that Benjamin Netanyahu, standing in the People's House, addressing Congress, condemning those Americans who are doing their duty as they saw fit, protected under the First Amendment, that he is the literal definition of an enemy of the United States of America, and yet they applauded him. It's disgusting behavior on the part of the United States Congress. Freedom of speech isn't about supporting the speech that you agree with. It's about supporting all speech, whether you agree with it or not, especially if you don't agree with it, because that's when it needs to be defended, because there's a temptation to say, shut it down, close them out, shut them up. No. You never shut them up. If you don't like what someone's saying, come up with better ideas, say it better, debate them, but don't shut them down. Benjamin Netanyahu is an enemy of America, but even more so, every single one of those congressional representatives and senators who applauded that, they're enemies of America as well.
They're not representing the American people. They're not preserving, protecting, and defending the Constitution. One Republican, Thomas Massey, didn't show. 100 Democrats didn't show, even though many of them have voted to give Netanyahu whatever he wants. Where do you see this going? Could this war involve Russia and China in a physical way, with troops, with planes, with ships?
I don't believe so. I mean, there's always that possibility. You never know where something's going to go once it starts. The danger is that this could turn into a general war between Russia and Iran. If Russia starts providing Iran with military equipment,
said a war between Russia and Iran.
I'm sorry, I mean between Israel and Iran.
Right.
If Russia has this agreement, it can't back away, meaning it will continue to support Iran. It won't allow Iran to be strategically defeated. If the United States has a similar agreement with Israel, where it won't allow Israel to be strategically defeated, we now have the potential of Russia and the United States facing off against each other in this regional way. Now, the United States and Russia have been doing so over Syria for over closing on 10 years. And we have deconfliction methodologies established where we talk to one another and we know how to avoid a conflict. But would we be able to do that if it involved Israel and Iran? It's just dangerous. We don't want to head in this direction where we have to ask that question. I prefer to know the answer, which is no, we're not going to allow that situation to devolve. But once you get into a general shooting war, you can't predict the outcome, and that's a very dangerous thing.
I want to switch gears for just a minute before we conclude, Scott. You'll know who this is and what he's crowing about. Chris, would you run cut number 1 and cut number 2 back to back, please?
Jets are in our sky, and officially today you see them, and it's good that they came and we can use them.
We had hundreds of meetings and talks to strengthen the capabilities of our aviation, to strengthen the capabilities of our air defense system, of our defense forces. We often heard it is impossible as an answer, but we still made our ambition, our defensive need possible. Now this is reality, reality in our skies. F-16s are in Ukraine.
What value are those F-16s to Ukraine?
Propaganda value. It's important propaganda value. You see the Ukrainian president talking about it. We've seen 2 fly. Reports indicate that up to 10 may have been delivered. They seem to be configured in air-to-air mode with AMRAAM missiles, sort of longer-range missiles, shorter-range Sidewinder missiles, and then they have an Israeli infrared detection device pod put on there as well. So they appear to be in an air-to-air combat configuration. So if he says they've been used, it would be to patrol airspace in and around the airfields that they're at. 2 seem to fly over the city of Odessa, again, for morale purposes, to say, hey, we're here. But if they tangle with the Russians will shoot them down. And again, the F-16 needs pristine airfields. The Russians will find where these airfields are, and they will destroy them or damage them. And it's purely a propaganda ploy. I don't see.
How old are the F-16s, Scott?
Well, the ones that apparently that they have are Danish F-16s, and they could be approaching 4 decades, and they've been, they've gone through a life upgrade, a midlife upgrade, but their airframes are just too old right now. They can't take high stress maneuvers. You can't overload them with weapons and put them into a high G turn. The airframes, these are airplanes that these NATO countries gave up because they had passed their useful life expectancy. And, there may have been some tinkering with electronics and things of that nature, but these are not combat worthy aircraft. They wouldn't be allowed to fly in any NATO air force. And we gave them to the Ukrainians. And again, they're just there for propaganda purposes.
Scott Ritter, thank you very much, my dear